Okay, so speaking of the record company and your new record, Meditative, I wanted to ask you a few questions about that. And my first question is, what inspired you to want to make this record? I know you've made a lot of records in the past, so what inspired you to make this particular record, and how is it different than the other records you've made before?
So this is a totally different record because it's an offering to the clients I've been working with for the past few years. And anytime a program will end, they will ask me, how can I still have you while you're not here? And and the same came from the practitioners and the doctors I've been working with in the past few years, and how they could use sound in their wellness center, in their clinic. So it's for patients to take it, home with them and listen to it anytime they want to ground themselves to the present moment, but also for practitioners to play in their clinics. And for everybody, really, for anyone who is looking for a way to relax, for anybody who needs a moment of relaxation.
Well, as usual, your rhythm and your timing is impeccable because I feel like now is a really great moment for people to be grounding themselves, right? And so I'm really glad that this record is coming out when it is, and I can't wait to listen to it
Thank
myself.
you.
And so you've described it as a full mind body experience that can serve as a companion for meditation, healing practices, and stress reduction. So, can you tell us a little bit more about how this tool can complement those other practices? I know you said people can bring it home and listen to it, but is
Mhm.
there anything else there?
Of course. So the invitation is to, first of all, notice how the body responds to sounds and how the mind engages with them. And together with the record, people also receive a series of mindful listening practices. In general, the invitation to cultivate breath awareness and notice how the sounds impact the nervous system again. That is the main practice that I would suggest. And lying down, it can be a great way to listen to the record, maybe keeping the eyes closed, anything that invites the mind and the body to rest and to breathe. That is how I see the record be integrated into our daily routine. And the music is a combination between sound therapy instruments and piano tracks. So people who are interested more in the piano, they can listen to that. And people who are interested in the sound therapy instruments more, they can focus on that type of sound as well.
So, I'm curious when you composed these different tracks, did you have ideas about how they might be useful? Like maybe one could be helpful for sleep or relaxation, or maybe in the earlier part of the day? Are those
Yeah, so
ideas
the
there?
practices are all focused on deep relaxation because this is like a recreation of a sound therapy practice. I also included enough consonance and dissonance so that the listener is benefiting from the album as if they are with me in the room in a sound therapy session.
So, a question for other lay people like me, because I know we have, as musicians, our ideas about consonance and dissonance and pleasant and unpleasant that are, misguided anyway, in large part. But when it comes to sound therapy, can you speak to how dissonance, um, the body might respond in a certain way that might not feel pleasant, but it can still be helpful?
Absolutely. Dissonance is as important as consonance. First of all, from a trauma informed perspective, this is called titration, right? And pendulation as well. These are incredible techniques where you actually work with the two end of the pendulum. and you want to go from comfort to discomfort, because that is a way for the nervous system to build resilience, meaning we are training the nervous system that if we are experiencing discomfort, we're still safe because we have the tools to go back to safety. So alternating consonants and dissonance using titration as a tool, meaning progressively integrating dissonance into a consonant sound sequence, is it should be beneficial to all.
Got it. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit more about that room and the recording process. And so I saw that there were 40 acoustic instruments featured on this album, which is just incredible. And they were all performed by you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a one man made, album. And without the help of Ronnie Alejandro, this will not be possible. He was with me 2 days in the room. We studied a way to record the instruments so that we could capture the essence of each of them. These are very quiet instruments. So we needed to have a lot of mics and different type of mics. And the way I was walking in the room is so that the sound is moving as if the listener is with me in the room. And composing and performing, it's something I'm very used to. And therefore, this was just an extension of that. The sound therapy instruments are part of the conversation together with the piano. So I also included the piano, but it's going to sound very different than the usual piano playing I will offer in another record.
I want to circle back to the piano in a minute, but I'm wondering, what was the biggest number of mics you had set up at any one time as you were walking around?
I think we had 9.
Wow.
Per instrument.
That's a lot. Wow.
So imagine the cleaning process. And by cleaning, I mean the air, my footsteps,
Sure.
my breath, all those little tiny wonderful sounds that are part of the human experience, right? Of recording an album in the studio. For the cleaning process, Chris Avila helped us to really meticulously clean those tracks. It was indeed a labor of love. It was a lot of work, but again, it is worth it to spend so much time and making sure I'm delivering a product that is good.
I love it. And I love the studio. It's kind of where I feel most at home making music. So I'm curious, were there any happy accidents that happened? Like you were talking about the air unit or your breath, or were there any things that happened organically that you decided to keep or build something around as they occurred?
Yeah, so definitely the performance of those instruments. Because again, I composed the music as if it was a composition. But the beauty of the instruments is that their sound shifts incredibly. And so sometimes I found myself listening to the demo, right? I was recording at home before completing the compositional process, and the same sequence sounded completely different when we then recorded that day in the studio. Mm-hmm. And that is the magic of overtones. The same instrument sounds different each time you strike it, right? So if you use a different type of mallet, if you are having 2 different combinations of bowls, or if you just, change the distance between them, the sound changes, and that is very special.
Beautiful. It sounds like a meditation unto itself, making the music.
It is. Right? It was. There was a lot of sound happening, but also there was a lot of interaction, interplaying among the different instruments, and how we can give the experience of the room while people are listening through the headphones. We had
Ah, okay.
tuning forks, gongs, and Himalayan singing bowls, different sets.
Okay.
And in addition, there was also the piano.
Okay. And then I guess of those three, was there one that challenged you the most in terms of capturing the sound the way you wanted it?
Yeah, so the weighted tuning forks are very, very quiet. And so capturing the sound of those instruments was particularly challenging. And then the gong, instead, it's kind of loud. And so making sure that the sound will not be too overwhelming, that was also something interesting to calibrate, to monitor. And as I mentioned, the balls were shifting in terms of sound a lot. So that was also interesting to capture each time, making sure I will keep the sound sequence as designed while also honoring how it was sounding that day. So it was, for me, it was more than a performance, it was a learning experience.
Yeah, I'm sure it gave you a new appreciation for the intricacies of each one, right? Or a new
Absolutely.
understanding.
The technicality of the recording process. Kudo, chapeau to all the sound engineers, you know, all the technicians, because your work is so important. And we often talk about the artist and the music. We talk less about the technicians, the engineers. And I think you guys have as much importance in the record as we do. And I say you because I know you're a recording engineer.
I appreciate you saying that. We can fight about that later, but I appreciate it. And let's talk a little bit about your old friend, the piano. And I know you'll never say it, but I'll go ahead and embarrass you. You're a master of the piano, and
Sure.
you've studied a lot, like you said. And you're a Steinway artist and a Steinway educational partner. And so your relationship with the piano is deep, right? And you've made a lot of records that are a certain way, like we've talked about. So I'm curious how the piano showed up in this context, how it was different for you, and how your relationship with the instrument evolved as a result.
That is such a beautiful question. As you know, I grew up with the piano. For me, the piano was my life for most of my life. So, in a way, I learned to evolve with the piano. The piano is an extension of me. And it only makes sense that in this record sounds so different because I'm not the same person. And that is, and it's that simple. So the piano in this record is an offering. So it's for people to enjoy a piano playing that is much more resolved. That's how I like to call it. And
Beautiful.
and you know, like when harmonically you find a way to say the same thing, but with less intricacies. As an artist, for me, it was a great moment because now I found a new way to play my instrument. Then that it's healing for me
Mm.
because it's a new way to play my own instrument, is a new way to offer my relationship with the pianos. As a pianist and as a composer, I always feel the urge or even the pressure that I always have to deliver something that it's highly skilled and that is, you know, difficult because that is what I have been for most of my life, right? Me on the piano, that is what it is. But this time I just said, this is not for you. This is not about you. This is about the people who are going to listen to the piano.
I love that so much. I love that idea of an offering. And I'm curious because I know how technically capable you are. What did you tap into? We're going to get a little esoteric here. What did you tap into to be able to access this new way of delivering this offering? Was it like a meditative state yourself, or what helped you access that?
First of all, for me, it's more difficult to play slow and a composed type of sound because it's more intimate. And because when you play less sounds, those sounds, they need to be intentional 100%. And so that was the challenge. The technical challenge was still present. But as you said, composing those pieces and then play them, it was an offering again. I really just surrendered, and I just said, this is sincere. I'm just playing something from my heart, and I hope it's gonna sound good.
For some reason, I'm getting an image of the heart versus the brain, right? Like a lot more heart-centered maybe than cerebral. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. And also, I always kept in mind the breath. Is the music breathing? Is the music giving an opportunity to breathe? Because at the end of the day, breath awareness is what can really help us regulate the nervous system. And the album aims to help that process.
Leaving space for people to breathe and have their own experience.
Correct. And in a way, even complete the musical sentence.
Ooh, love that.
Right?
Yeah.
Space, it's an opportunity for us to be part of the conversation. But from a trauma-informed perspective, silence is the place for integration. And so it's as important as sound.
Fantastic. So you mentioned some of these audios of self-regulation techniques that come with a purchase of the album. Can you tell us about a couple of those or what those sound like?
This past spring, I had the great opportunity to record an entire series of self-regulation techniques. Those involve 33 educational videos, and the practices go from somatic healing practices to yoga nidra, to mindful listening, and so on. So from this series, I selected a portion of those practices that can be paired with the tracks so that people can practice mindful listening in a way that involves sound through the recording and listening to the recording, but also without sound. So just with the practice on its own.
So is this you guiding people through with your voice and helping with breathing, for example, or? Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. I look forward to hearing those as well and using them myself. Okay, well, is there anything else you want to share about this process or the record itself?
Well, Meditative is gonna be released World Meditation Day. So it's an invitation for us to take a moment to go inward. And I know you are a meditation teacher yourself. Meditation is an incredible tool that we have for self-regulate. That's how I like to put it. And so the sound, in a way, it's a tool that we can use if we are not ready for silence yet. That is the ultimate learning for me. I studied Vipassana. So for me, meditation is in silence. But I understand that silence is a destination. And in order for us to get there, we want to transition from the hectic noise to balancing sound, to spare sounds, to then finally being at ease while enjoying silence. And so the album, in a way, is a tool for us to explore meditation, what that means. And sometimes people think of meditation like something exotic, right? Because as sound therapy, sometimes meditation is portrayed like something exotic. And again, we want to discern marketing from the practice. People can meditate while they are in the car. while they are at home, in the office during their lunch break. Meditation can simply be breath awareness. Focus yourself in the present moment and just notice what is present. And so Meditative album, just like a warm scarf, is something that is embracing people.
Well, what a beautiful offering. I'm so excited for this record. Even more excited having spoken to you more about it today than I was before. And so World Meditation Day, just so everyone knows, is May 21st, correct?
Correct.
And the album is available now for pre-order on Bandcamp. And that's under your name, Moira Lo Bianco, on Bandcamp?
And Integro Sonoro as well.
Okay, perfect. So folks can find it there. And thank you, Moira, for
Thank you.
for being you, for bringing peace to this world that needs it so much in all the ways that you do, and through your music and helping people connect with themselves and meditation and all the beautiful things you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.